Hi everyone, hello, how are you? It is a miserable day here at Equiboodle HQ, but I am full of sunshine and kittens and fluffiness because we're being joined by my lovely friend Sarah, who we all just adore, and she's going to talk us through some amazing pre-competition tips and just lovely stuff, basically. So yes, can't wait for her to join us. So as you know, it's a slightly new thing for us with this streaming that we're doing. So we will wait for Sarah to join in. Tell me what you have been up to today. Have you ridden already before this rain? We are having like massive rain pours here. It's very wet. I'm hot. So I'm in my happy vest, so I'm very comfortable, but it's muggy, isn't it? It is muggy. Right, who is here? Sarah, if that's you, you just need to go back to your messages, gorgeous, and click on the link to join in the live, and then I will accept you. I hope that makes sense. Just go back to our messages earlier, gorgeous. Just, yes, she's got it. Oh, I need to find my group so we can check the messages. BoodleBox. Did you see Jane put up a thing earlier saying how she rolled over in the middle of the night and inadvertently turned my my video on from yesterday where I was ridiculously excited because of our gloves arriving, and basically my voice started booming out in the middle of the night. Bless her. Right, we'll just wait for Sarah to join. While she does, just in case you did miss it, these bad boys arrived with us yesterday. I'm so happy with how many of you have ordered these already. This is them in the leopard print. They are super. We have got animal print grippy palm, and then it's mesh material on the back of the hand, so extremely breathable. This is them in the black leopard to match our riding tights, which also came back into stock yesterday. And then we've also got them in black. How fabulous. And as I say, thank you so much to everybody that has been ordering them. They are all going to be packed up and posted off to you on Monday. We even had some customers come in and buy them literally out of the cardboard box that they arrived in yesterday. So yes, it was all fabulous. Well, I hope Sarah's okay. Let me just check that she's seen the link, so she's probably just downloading it and getting it all ready. I hope we're going to be able to hear her because her yard isn't that far away from the shop and it is absolutely hammering it down. Woo! She's here. Oh, my lovely friend.
Hello.
Now. Hello, darling.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can. Is there feedback?
No, I've paid for such amazing streaming thing because we're so professional now.
Oh my God.
I can even hear a horse in the background, Sarah.
Yes, that's Amy all getting revved up, ready to go for the old, the demo. So yeah, we're sort of on it. It's just I had a slight panic trying to get on there because you sent me a new sort of link and I slightly panicked. So I had to call all the girls back into the tack room to give them a bit of a hand to get it on.
Oh, love you so much. Yes, technology is not your friend, but riding is, thank goodness. And that's what we want you for. So don't worry. You're here and that's all that matters. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I've had a really good week off the back of not such a good week last week. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, sort of competition pressure, mental toughness when you're a competitor. It's all fantastic and happy days when everything goes well. But of course, there are times when things don't go so well. And how do you cope with that? And I had a real sort of mixed bag last Wednesday. I went out down the centre line for the first time for a long time. Well, since lockdown, of course. And it was a fabulous morning. my lovely little chestnut horse, you know, the Iris, who's owned by Sophie Fitzpatrick. She went the first time she's gone out, so she was an unknown entity really, and she was just fabulous, you know, really good. And she came second in her first novice. That was her first centre line, and won the second novice, you know, really good stonking mark. And I was thrilled with her. She was so brave, and, you know, so everything there, the setup, everything was right. So I got everything right in the competition prep for her. And then in the afternoon, Amy went off to do her first Inter 2, and I went off to do my second Grand Prix, which we know we're very green at that level, but we felt we'd got a lot of practice in. We'd sort of set up everything that we thought we needed to do. And then we got there, and both our horses were hot, and slightly overawed by the atmosphere. So although I'd have to say they did warm up really well, but it was almost like they were in with their buddies, and the other horses there, and they felt quite confident. But as soon as we took them out of that environment and into the arena that the judge was at, they all started blowing their nose. And with our two horses, they're very similar, because they throw their tension in exactly the same way, and their tail starts swishing, the jaw starts going, and they start blowing their nose, and you think, oh my God, you know, I can't really ride one side of this horse today. So unfortunately, Amy was unable to show her passage and her PF, which is a real highlight with her horse. And so when you can't show that, your marks go right down. She fluffed up the ones, which are, again, if you've seen on this, you can see how ones are a real highlight, and they're clean. She can get in and out of them really well. They're straight. Well, she showed too many. You're supposed to show 15. She showed 17. She showed, but of course, as soon as you do that, you're on a 4. Even regardless of it's slightly better, you could argue it's slightly more than you should show, but it's not correct. And so, you know, she had a disastrous score because of quite, you know, we understand why. And then I went down the centre line, and I have to say it was exactly the same thing. It wasn't that we couldn't show the Grand Prix work. It's just we showed everything with a slight blip. So again, when you're because at Grand Prix you're supposed to show the finished article, aren't you? You're supposed to show that the horse can do it. So under that particular judge, who's a great judge, don't get me wrong, she's very experienced. What she wanted to see was not a green horse going down the centre line doing a Grand Prix with little blips. She wanted to see the finished article. So we both had to use our mental toughness, because the score we got was pretty horrific for both of us. And, you know, you can either go away and cry about it, or you can look at you can be mentally tough about it and say, you know what, I'm going to take this on the chin, because what she's saying isn't incorrect. Perhaps another judge on another day might have been a little bit more generous for the things that we did well, but that was where it sat for her. And perhaps another judge on another day wouldn't have been quite so tough when things went wrong with the mark that she gave us. But you know what? That was her opinion on the day, and we have to take that. And we mustn't go crying about it on social media about how dreadful the judge was. We've got to say, you know what? That's how it was on the day, and we have to get better. And I know with Polly, she's a horse that actually gets better and better the more she goes down the centre line. So some horses get better with that, some get stale, but she's such a hot little number. She sort of gets confidence by going down the centre line a bit more, and she'll start to show less tension, and through less tension and the swishing of the tail and more relaxation, because she's got plenty of go, I don't need to sort of wind her up too much for that, I will be able to present the test in such a way that she doesn't make those mistakes. But when she's swishy and tense and tight, those little mistakes creep in. And it's the same with Alfie. If he's too tense, he can't show all the beautiful stuff he can do. So there's work to do, is our point. You know, you have to suck it up, and you have to think the things that worked and the things that didn't work, and you know, learn from it and move on, really, and not say I am never going down the centre line again. Or be, you know, what you probably have to do, sometimes you have to review, and you have to stop, and you have to rethink, and you have to, you know, make things better before we go down the centre line. But try not to let it make you think that everyone's out there laughing at you, because they're not. Anyone who's produced any horses at the levels understands that things go wrong. And if they are, that's their problem, not yours, you know. And don't let that put you off. You know, still make the effort to get down the centre line and review the things that you can control, the things that you can control, and get back down the centre line again and give it another go.
And I find it so fascinating because you had an absolutely stonking morning. The morning couldn't have gone any better for you with your lovely little chestnut mare.
Yeah.
So this just goes to show that it's not necessarily state of mind or anything. Polly
No.
just came off the lorry. She was absolutely up for a party. She just didn't quite know how to demonstrate the party that day. But going forward for your next competition, how will you mentally address what happened last week? Will you concentrate on the positives more, or will you address her randomness? And you know, what skill set will you put into place for the next one?
So for me, the review is that there are certain things I want to get better, because, for instance, her piaffe is amazing. But what I did on the day, because she was a bit hot and I didn't want her to explode, I showed too few piaffe steps, even though it's a high late. So, and you have to show 12 to 15, and I showed 9. Well, if you show 9, no matter how good it is, you're going to get a rubbish mark because you haven't shown what they have said on the paper. And also, it's a ×2. So if my passage is poor, it's still very green at the moment, then I go into a piaffe, which is a highlight, but I don't do enough steps. Then more for me,
right?
My riding, and that's me. But it was thought out because I didn't want her to blow up. So it was, but of course I'm on a rubbish mark. So what I have to do is improve the passage, which I went to Carl yesterday and I asked him to have a little sit on, which was thrilling. I was over the moon. And the lovely news is he absolutely loved her, which is amazing.
I love that.
Oh God, it was like, honestly, it was like, I almost feel...
That's like better than like your parents saying they love your horse.
Yes.
When Carl says he likes your horse.
Absolutely. I have to say, I felt I could almost retire because he rode my horse and he really loved her. And he felt that there was things that we could do to, her contact, for instance, needs to be a little bit stronger in order for the passage to improve. So he talked me through that. And so that was because no one really rides Polly apart from me, and to have someone of greatness like that to get on and say, she's gorgeous, she has all the components that a Grand Prix horse should have, but she actually needs to be a little bit more in your hand, a little bit more in your contact, and more securely there, in order to get the passage better. And they think, oh my God, happy days. Well, that's things we can do. So, sorry, slightly digressing, but so what you have to do off the back of something going wrong like that, you have to address where the things went wrong and what you can practically do in order to make them better. So for me, I knew the passage was weak and needs to be better. And I also knew, because she was hot as hell, I didn't show enough piaffe steps. So what I have to do is make the passage better, the transition from the passage to the piaffe really good, and then show what she can do, the piaffe, for as high a mark as I can possibly get. And then again, if we're a bit weak and a bit wobbly in the passage, that's fine. They'll forgive you as long as you show the correct amount of steps in the piaffe. And you show a good transition in, and ideally a good transition coming out. And the first part of the paper is all to do with the piaffe. The first part, she could do all that. That was all getting fairly good marks. Another judge another day might have got even better marks, but that was all good. It was just the piaffe passage, and because it's a collective of two, it's very expensive when you can't show that. So off the back of that, I need to do more of that work in order to get that established. And quite frankly, the other canter work stuff, like the zigzag, the stiff, that is quite difficult, she can do. It was through the tension I wasn't able to show that. So for her, that's actually going down the centre line more, and me not worrying about not showing always a fantastic score test. I've got to just keep going down the centre line, sucking up the score, knowing that this is what my horse needs in order to be able to perform the Grand Prix movements with confidence. And sometimes you have to suck that up as a rider and say, okay, I'm willing to train ugly. So I know the judge is not going to give me a great score for this, but I'm doing this to help my horse's confidence, and actually to help my confidence, because you've got to be able to do it enough in front of a judge that you can cope with that. So there's lots of things we learned from it, but the main thing I wanted to tell people is, on social media, you read things and you don't think for a minute that anyone has a bad centre line. You don't think for a minute that anyone has a rubbish score. but I promise you we all do. But what as competitors, perhaps professional riders, do better is we just take it on the chin, and we know that it's a learning curve. We know that's where we're at the moment in time, and we know it can get better. And what we don't do is let it completely destroy our confidence, which I know it can for a lot of amateur riders. And you mustn't let that destroy your confidence, because I promise you we've all been there.
Yeah. And how many times did you practice the actual test in your run up to last week? Or did you just practice individual moves at home beforehand?
That's a really good question. I practice the test enough that it feels like an old friend. I'm not an advocate of horses anticipating. I think if they anticipate, then they're not on your aids enough, and then that's what you need to address. I think actually horses get really confident knowing where they're going in a test. So I am one that will ride through the test at least probably once a week, and then I do components of it. And then of course they hack and they lunge and they do other things. They don't just do test or ride. But I probably try and go through the test at least once a week leading up to the competition. But again, what some riders might do, which is wrong, is ride through it every single day for the next 5 days leading up to the competition. And that's wrong, because what you might do is nail the test in your head, but then you start to present a very flat horse that, it's kind of not what the judges want to see, is something that's so indoctrinated in the test that there's no expression and there's no lift or excitement to it. It just looks like they have done that to death, and the horse looks like he's about to die. He's so switched off and bored with it. But the flip side of that is if you have your horse a bit too fresh, which I did, it can go too much the other way, and they're too hot and too sharp and too tense. And that where I haven't been down the centre line for 4 months, 5 months, something like that. So that is just work for me to do. And until I go out a bit more, like I say, for her, that makes her better. And for some horses, it makes them flatter. And you have a lazy horse, you might not want to go out too often and do it too much, because you want to keep them as fresh as possible. But horses like Alfie and Polly, you need to make sure you do it enough and they're confident in it.
Yeah. And then we've had a question. Whilst you are riding the test, are you thinking about what marks each movement you show might be worth, or are you not worrying about the marks, just riding each movement?
Bit of both, actually, quite honestly with you. It's particularly if something goes wrong in my head, I'm thinking, well, I need to make sure I pull out the bag for the next mark. So although I'm thinking very much about how I'm presenting it and how I set up for the next movement. Now, in the Grand Prix test, I promise you hardly have any time to set anything up at all, because it's movement after movement after movement after movement. So if things start to go wrong, it's very difficult then for you to, because you haven't got a circle or anything, you've just got to literally crack on and do it. But yeah, sure, when I'm in the actual test itself, I'm thinking, well, that was pretty damn good, or I'll fluff that up a bit. I've got to make sure I get a really stonking score for the next one. And in your head, you are slightly, adding it up as you go. But what I don't do is do a movement that went badly and then hang on to that and think, oh my God, I might as well put my hand up and retire. I don't feel like that. I just think, well, I fluffed that. Let's try and get a stonking mark for the next bit, or let's set that up a bit better for the next way, or something. So yeah, a bit of both, actually. And sometimes sorry.
No, I was going to say, a lot of people that are new to dressage, venturing into it for the first time, they when you're out there and you're riding that test and you fluff something up, it's a bit like when you take your driving test, you kind of go, oh, well, I failed now. Yeah. But it is just one mark. And, the best thing anybody can do is just park that and just carry on with the rest of the test, which could be, in your words, shamazing.
Shamazing, absolutely.
Yeah, but I think it's such a hard thing, isn't it? Because I know that's something that I fall victim to, just going, that was like the worst 20-meter circle ever, and then before you know it, that mindset is just going like a balloon, isn't it? Like this.
Yeah, and that's
what do you ever experience that? Is there anything, is it just a case of, for those 2 minutes, you've just got to hold it together?
Well, there are a few things there. I think for you, Vic, I would say to you, if you're with me now, I think we need to go and talk to a sports psychologist about your mental attitude to test. Because as I said to you, I actually think you're a good test rider. But I do agree with you that when the wheels slightly fall off, your mindset wouldn't necessarily go to, right, the wheels have fallen off, I'm going to get a stonking mark for next. You kind of, your shoulders would go down. You would start to say to yourself, well, there's not much point. I might as well retire. You haven't ever retired, but I can see it in your way of going and in your presentation of the test. Things start to go wrong. You kind of allow that to happen. And I think if you were with me now, what I would do is we go to a sports psychologist, because it is not your riding, and it is just your mental prep for when things go wrong, of how to handle that. And for you also, it was the lack of time and practice. So like I said to you, I've been down the centre line a thousand of times. And you know what? Then you get less nervous. It's just part of my job. I go down the centre line. I'm not saying I don't get nervous because I do, because I care, but I don't get nervous about things going wrong. I get nervous because I care and I want the horse to do really well. But I suppose mentally I'm more adept at coping with things go wrong. And I think for a lot of amateur riders, that's where the sports psychologist would really help them in being able to adapt when things start to go wrong and how to cope with that, instead of just shoulders going down thinking, well, I might as well give up.
I think I represent the amateur rider quite well. I mean, friends put, oh, that's how I think too, Vic. You're not the only one. And then I don't know who's said this, but a user's put, I've never thought about the marks I'm getting in any test. I'm just desperate to get to that final halt whilst keeping a lid on it. I could have written that.
Yeah, I don't. Listen, there have been a few tests I've written like that, thinking, oh my God, I just got to get through to the end. So you're not alone in that either. But I would say if that is a continual thing that you're feeling, then you need to talk to your trainer and you need to look at other things that you can do as a rider out with the competition in order to make you feel less like that. Because I promise you, there's a lot you can do in the preparation of the horse, in the feeding, the tack fitting, the sports psychology side. All these things can be done to help you feel not quite so much like you just want to get through it. Because if you just want to get through it, you'll hurry through it, and then already your marks have gone down because you're not showing harmony and balance and softness. It just looks a bit hectic and a bit like quick, get it through. So there's lots that can be done, and I think that's where you need to talk to your trainer about that and how they can help you.
And I would just like to say, I know that Sarah and I have got this it's always going to be a long-standing joke between us, me battling my nerves. But Sarah did get me from a pit pony that pitched up on her yard, doing local unaffiliated stuff, all the way through to him turning into a very smart show pony and going and doing proper BD affiliated dressage at the local venue, which is quite posh. And
very posh.
I came second in one of my classes, and honestly, that for me, I had actually achieved it, and that was with Sarah holding my hand and doing everything that amazing trainer and livery owner does for a year. But I got there, and I'm so proud of myself. So you should be. It's absolutely true. But so many people, I do feel that a lot of amateur riders have just got to find their Sarahs, don't they? They've got to find the people that understand them and their horses and are prepared to help. So if I could do it, guys, with Sarah, I'm pointing the wrong way. No! Anybody can do it.
You absolutely can.
If anybody's got any questions about that, well, Sarah, because I reckon you're probably ready to take us for our demo now, aren't you?
I am. Yeah.
I'll keep an eye on the comments, and then I'll just interject, and I'll just pass it over to you now, gorgeous.
Now, the only thing, my darling, is I don't know on this one where I flip the camera around. Because there's no that twirly thing. If I tap it, oh no. Oh, I don't know what I've done there. Am I on pause?
No, you're fine.
Oh, I don't know what I've done. I've got the pause button up now. What I might have to do is just turn the camera around, I guess.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine as well.
I will ask the girls, because they're so up on this
Yeah,
technology, and I'm not. Sorry, just running across in the rain. Here we go.
So
Right. Oh, I can't believe this weather is absolutely chucking it down. So if I just... Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. If I turn this around, because I can't... Oh. Sorry. I'm trying to press button, but just let me know. Okay. Can you see Amy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Can.
Brilliant. And I can't, I'm afraid, really see the camera. So you'll have to let me know if you can't see correctly. So we've got lovely Amy and we've got lovely Alfie. And what we were going to talk about today is corners, because corners are historically ridden badly. And we were going to talk about circles, because also circles are historically ridden badly. And those are two very simple things that we can do, ride them correctly and well, in order for your marks to go up in the test, and also just to improve your horse's way of going generally. I hope you can hear me because of the rain. Can you hear all right?
Yeah.
And you can see all right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, good. So why don't you just show me a little bit of work, just warming him in there, Amy, so we can have a little look. It's a nice little walk to canter transition there. So I was telling everyone, Amy, about our slightly disastrous run a few Wednesdays ago when we didn't quite get the score we wanted, but we understand that off the back of that, we just need to train better, make sure our horses are really super prepared for going down the centre line next time. So there, Amy's just riding a little bit of travers. Now, she has done a little bit of warming up with this horse first, but the travers there is a really nice exercise where we ask the horses to bring their quarters in. If you do it again down towards the camera. So we ask them to bring their quarters in. Well done. Keeping the front end fairly straight. That's the way. And it really makes them start to split their hind legs a little bit behind in the canter. And it helps them just really become more supple behind the saddle. And then that was a nice single change. Lovely. And then no doubt she'll do the same thing again along this next long side, a little bit of travers to make him loose behind the saddle. That's the way. Well done. And do one more of those and then show me a nice single change again. And then we'll go to the basics like the corners and the circles. Can you see that okay, Vic?
We are fine. Yeah, you're doing a great job.
That's the way. And then back across the diagonal and we'll do a single change there, Amy. So straight, balance, a little bit forward and a super change. Well done. Good girl. Super. All right. And then just go forwards to walk. Sorry that I don't know how to flip the thing round. So it's very difficult for me to make sure, see if you can see it. But it was okay, was it?
Absolutely fine, darling. You're getting it bang on. It's almost as if it was just normal. I don't know how to be away, but we'll work it out for the next time. So so the point of that exercise is...
So the travers, I mean, we don't just jump on and start doing travers, but Amy's already walked, trot and canter the horse round. And the thing about the travers, which is just asking the horse to bring his quarters in and riding the front end straight and the quarters in, is it really helps the horses become a little bit more supple behind the saddle. And they usually find the travers quite easy. You know, some horses find the shoulder in really difficult because that means that they have to actually physically lift up and bring their shoulders in. But most horses, if you ride them and look at them, are quite happy to go with their quarters in canter, so it's quite an easy exercise. And if you then develop that you're actually doing it because you're asking them to do it, and then you do it equally on both sides, then you start to make the horse, certainly in the lumbar area, a little bit more loose. And in the canter, for our more advanced horses, we want them to make a really nice expressive change, or we want them to sit a little bit more. But what some horses can do in the canter is be really quite close with their hind legs. And what the travers does is makes them looser behind the saddle and also gets them to split their hind legs. And that gives them a bigger base of support for doing things like the changes and the sitting and the pirouettes and things. So for our horses, doing the travers is a really useful exercise. And it also allows us to be able to feel that we have control over the quarters. And if for instance, the horse is going along the long side in travers, you also feel that you can position the quarters out the way, and that's wrong there, where you make the quarters go the other way. You can actually make the horse look like it's going straighter. So it's a really useful exercise that we use. Okay, but we weren't really going to talk about that. But it's all interesting. You know, when I ask Amy to go off and work her horse, it's quite nice for you to see what she just does naturally and just thinks about. So we were going to start off talking about the real basics, which is something you think, oh God, a 20-meter circle or a 15-meter circle or a 10-meter circle. My God, how easy is that? But I tell you what, it is not that easy, because so many riders ride like 2 corners, a straight line and a half circle, which is like how many riders do that? And then of course they wonder why the trot was really good or really good, why they're getting a 6.5. Well, something wasn't good. The showing of the accuracy was quite. So there are 4 things we need to look at in when we're riding a 20-meter circle, and they're 4 tangents. Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera back around, and it's really tricky for me because I can't actually see what you can see, but I'm going to try my best. So I turn it back around, and can you see Amy?
Yes.
Yeah, can you see her? Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so we've got a marker there, A, and then we've got the K marker, we've got the E marker, we've got the B marker, and the F marker. Okay, so you're right, Charlotte. Yeah. Okay, sorry, bit of admin. So in order to ride a 20-meter circle correctly, what we've got to do is, Amy, if you would like to ride a diamond shape to those 4 tangent points. Okay, so the tangent points would be directly in between the B and the F marker, the A marker. So draw a diagonal line. That's the way. Hit that one. Now diagonal line again. So these are no curved lines. These are just a diamond shape. Hit that marker. And you're thinking about controlling the outside shoulder. You're thinking about really putting the horse's inside hind leg underneath. Good. And you see there how she really turns the outside shoulder on that diagonal line. Now do that in trot, Amy. Do that in trot. But don't. So you're thinking absolutely straight. Steady trot. Marker to marker, not too big.
We're not thinking circular. We're thinking straight at this moment, are we?
Absolutely straight as a die.
Okay.
So you literally are doing a diamond shape. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see there are moments when he slightly loses balance and loads that left shoulder. And that's where he's got to be a little bit more collected on his hind leg and a little bit more in balance. So a fraction straighter to the outside rein there, Amy, you can. And I would go a tiny bit slower to make that trot a little bit more collected, because this is quite difficult. Although, you know, it's a basic 20-meter circle and you're doing it on a straight line. He was thinking, why on earth am I not allowed to just bend and go on a curved line? I normally do. So he's a bit confused. So we just go a little bit slower, a little steadier, and we make it easy for him. Good boy. Just easy. Easy. Now, what you're going to do now is go from those 4 tangent points there, Amy, and you're going to ask him to go on a curved line at each tangent point. And then you are essentially riding a good circle. Now, that mountain block is slightly in the way, isn't it? Very nice. And then you've got a little bit of curvature. I think that's almost a bit too much flexion for a 20-meter circle. Might be fine for a smaller circle. Nice to be a little quieter, little quieter. That's okay. He's trying too hard. Good boy. Well done, Amy. That's the way. And then there's a 20-meter circle. Good. So basically, you're just going from tangent point to tangent point. You've done the diamond shape. Now you're making a curved shape. Now bring this in to 15 meters. And I'm going to stand outside the circle so you can see, guys. So I'm just going to move the mountain block because it's slightly in the way. That's the way. Good. So same principle. You're riding the horse on a 15-meter circle, which is essentially 2.5 meters shy of the edge. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, that is actually, darling, a tiny bit too small. A very lovely shape, really good shape, but just 2.5 meters shy. And what, as riders, you need to be aware of is that each side looks exactly the same, because you'll often find through the left shoulder, the horse will start to drift a little bit closer to the track. So as a rider, you have to really ride the outside of the horse on the 15-meter circle. Very good. Now bring that into 10 meters. And in order to ride circles well, you need to have complete control over the inside and the outside of the horse. And obviously, as the circle goes down to 10 meters, we have to make sure that the rhythm doesn't change. He's well capable of doing working trot on a 10-meter circle. It's not that small a circle, but that depends on how balanced and easy the horse is to the rider's aids. And then just leg yield him out onto a 20-meter circle there, Amy. Well done. That's the way. Lovely. And a better rhythm now. Does it feel a bit better, Amy? Yeah. It's actually funny that the small... That's right. You see, the thing is, this horse is an advanced horse. So he goes to do an easy movement, like a 20-meter circle, and bless his heart, his brain is going 10 to the dozen. And he thinks, well, it can't be this easy. I must offer something else. Bless him. He just says it can't be that easy. Well done. Well done. Now let's have a look at that in canter.
So Sarah, if you're the amateur rider at home and you do this as an exercise and you start to feel your horse become unbalanced as the circles become smaller, what should you do?
So you just need to make sure you're not hammering along going too fast, firstly, so you've got good balance. You then need to eke your circle down. So just do this now. So the 20-meter circle, you can see the canter here. The horse is in a good rhythm. It's in nice balance. It looks easy. Now we're going to make it a little bit more difficult. We're going to ask him to go down. Now this horse can pirouette. He's just sort of getting the idea of that. So we could actually go quite small. But what you'll start to feel and see as a rider is as you go smaller and smaller, the horse will start to withdraw his labour a little bit. He'll lose the quality of the canter. He'll start to find the rider's hand. You can see he's starting, I don't know if you can see that, but he's starting to load a little bit more weight on the left shoulder. So you probably go to about 10 meters at the moment, Amy, and you say to the horse, right, okay, I know this isn't easy, but just stay here. And if your horse says 10 meters is too difficult, you go 12 meters. He says that's too difficult, you do 15 meters. Oh, he's having a poo. That's what the problem was. There you are. Nice hole, Amy. Well done. Good. Back into canter. It was all the pressure of being watched. Good.
Of course.
And then, just watch that poo. Don't go over it. That's the way. A little bit smaller. Well done. That's okay. Now what he's doing there. Now that happens. You'll find as an amateur rider, you go too small and then you get the irregular steps. He starts to nod his head up and down. That's him telling us that's a bit difficult, mummy, at the moment. So you just make it bigger. You find the easy canter again. Well done. Well done. You check that you've not got a little bit too much inside flexion. Yeah, good girl. That's the way. That's the way. And that's very easy now. So he's on 10 meters. He said that's easy. Good. Now a little bit smaller. But only as much as you can keep the rhythm.
Yes.
So don't let him take over. There you are. Don't let him take over. Yeah, very nice. Pat him before it goes wrong. Yeah, before it goes wrong. Ride him out, ride him out, ride him out, ride him out. Very good. And then back out onto your 20-meter circle and thinking about your 4 tangent points again. So you ride from marker to marker. Good. Really good. And then walk him and pat him. We'll have a look the other way. Yeah.
So
well done.
If you've got a horse at home and you're struggling and you feel that the horse becomes unbalanced or starts nodding, widen the circle back out, and just only take it to the point that you can feel your horse is comfortable still. Is that the key to it, training at home?
Yeah, and they'll soon tell you, where they're struggling with it. That's not to say you never push the limits, because if you never push the limits, then you never quite know what they can, what they're capable of. But if that sort of nodding and the irregularity in either the trot or the canter, that's him saying he's struggling or she's struggling. So what you mustn't do is make them struggle on and struggle on and struggle on until they sort of the pin drops out and they say, well, I don't want to try this anymore. It's just far too difficult. And then you find an easy rhythm, you find an easy circle, and then you maybe go into a slightly smaller one than that for a couple of strides. And then you make that perhaps the whole circle. But if he struggles and he says, that's enough, then you make it a bit bigger again. And that's where you can use your leg yield exercise. I love leg yield. We use leg yield a lot here because it's such a good suppling exercise. And it allows you to feel, right, I can just go to the edge and make it really quite small. And then if he's just struggling a bit, I can just leg yield out one stride. You don't have to go all the way out to the edge. You can just make it a little bit easier by making just that little diameter a little bit bigger, and just help him that way. Now, we're going to just change the rein, Amy, okay? And then we're going to have a look at those circles the other way. Do let me know if this is dull, because I can do more exciting stuff if people want to see something more.
No. I think this is amazing, because this is stuff that people can genuinely try at home, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's all towards, as we said in the bio, it's all towards getting yourself better marks, because if you can perfect things at home.
And don't underestimate how difficult riding is. Now, Amy's made riding a circle look quite easy. Now, I know that a lot of you think, well, it's not usually that easy, because the stiffness that the horses have will make them fall in and fall out. And you'll find that some horses will drag you one side and then fall in like mad on the other side. And it's just because, Amy and Alfie are very experienced and supple that they make it look so easy. So I know for a lot of you it won't be that easy. It's just the only reason it started to get easy now is that through years and years of training and suppling this horse, it looks easy. And ultimately, that's what we want to show the judge, isn't it? That our training has made the work look easy. So So we're just going to do and what might be interesting for you to see on this rein is whether or not the circle is easier on this rein, or whether it's slightly more difficult. And we'll go from the large circle to the smaller circle, and then perhaps the people watching will be able to say whether they feel this horse looks easier on the left rein or more difficult on the left rein. So their eye becomes a bit more educated about what they're looking for. Okay. So again, I apologise, I can't see, but I hope I'm following the horse okay.
Yes.
Good. So we're straight away in canter, and we're riding a 20-meter circle. Now, one thing I want you all to be aware of, what Amy is not doing is she is not riding into the corners, because a 20-meter circle starts and finishes at the A marker. So what a lot of amateur riders do, they do the first half pretty good. In fact, can you do it this way, like we sometimes see them ride? So you do a half circle, Amy, and then what you're going to do is you're actually going to go straight down, and you're going to ride a corner coming down towards me. So here we go, straight, and you're going to ride a corner, another straight line, another corner, and then you go halfway up, and then you ride a half circle. Now, I see loads of riders riding circles like that. Now, that isn't a circle. All right, that's a half circle and a straight line. Now go back to riding your tangent point. So you see it starts at A, boom, she hits that marker. Now she goes off, she hits that marker, boom. Now she's off the circle again, and she's on to the next one, boom. Good. Now she angles the horse round again to the next marker. Super. Yeah. Now that's a good shape. The horse could be a little bit more settled in his mouth, all those sorts of things. But that's a really good shape. And for some people watching, they might think, well, that looks quite straight. But actually, that's how we need to ride a circle in order to make a horse look really bending and curved around us. Because left their own devices, if we bend the neck too much to the left, the horse will go swinging out through its right shoulder. So 15-meter circle now, Amy. In you come. Now, 15-meter circle is 2.5 meters shy of the edge. Now, technically, we should ride the 15-meter circle from the A marker just to help riders, Amy. So to go down to the A marker, it starts at A, and then you're going to be 2.5 meters shy of the edge from A. So you come down, we're riding a corner, Then we get to A. Then you immediately turn the horse's shoulders off the track because he's wanting to go into the corner like you would normally do. That's a tiny bit small. A little bit bigger. There you go. Good girl. That's better. I know you're trying to avoid the poo as well, aren't you? Being very, very good. Good girl. That's a 15-meter circle. Now make 10 meters. So turn 5 meters either side of the center line. She's been doing so many into twos. That's an 8-meter circle. Make it 10. Good girl. She's making it far too difficult for herself. Now make it 8. So 4 meters. Good girl. Yeah, I cope very well with that. A little bit of loading on the right shoulder. Now 20-meter circle. Make it really easy for him again. Super.
Lovely.
Super. Really good. And then just bring your circle in and do a working pirouette. So the ultimate circle that we ride in canter is the pirouette. But we're not going to make him pirouette. We're just going to do a working pirouette. So we keep it 10 meters.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the horse this way as he was to the other way, your people watching will see that he finds this a little bit more difficult. And he's trying too hard to sit. And he gets himself in a right pickle. So Amy's got to be really careful here and make sure she lets him just canter normally. So in the working pirouette, you've got to make sure that you don't let him come back and sit too much. You've got to say, no, you're just working. Don't panic. And Amy has to be really careful sitting to the inside. Yeah, good girl. Now, that's not easy because the horses centre off to the right, which so many horses do on this left rein. Very good. Now, that's a better rhythm, isn't it? Yeah. In fact, almost use a poo as a bit of guidance and go around the outside of that so you don't let them take over on this left side of the circle. Yeah, and I know it's an enormously big working pirouette, but I'd much rather you did that with control and acceptance than when he takes over and makes it too small. Good girl. Already. Yeah. A little bit smaller. Sit left. Good girl. And just don't let him get too sitting. Oh, very good. Not too sitting. Now leg yield out to a bigger circle. That's very good. Leg yield out to a bigger circle. But you see, if she'd have kept going there, he'd have just almost changed behind, got stuck. And what you've got to do as a rider is start to feel when things to go wrong. And instead of losing the horse's confidence and letting them go wrong, you say, well, that's great. You've really got to your optimum. You're really trying. And then you ride forwards. And I just give a longer rein a minute down. Just make it easy. And say, look, good boy. Well done for trying. Good fellow. Really good. And then he goes, oh, this is rather jolly. And then you sort of free off the handbrake a bit. Let him have a bit of fun. Good girl. And then you pick him back up again. And it's sort of that desire to go forward you want to have, but without him diving downhill like that. So pick him back up again. And collect those hind legs. Good girl. Yeah, collect those hind legs. Well done. Well done. That's the way. And then sit left. And then ride a good downwards transition into walk. Very good. Long range.
That was fabulous. Super. I could definitely see that this was just tougher for him on this rein. But like you just said, it still just makes it look so easy. But I could see, he just looks like he's loading more, doesn't he? And just like a little bit like, oh, I'm not quite as happy. But that's
exactly, you're spot on, Vic. You're absolutely spot on. It's he's still trying his little socks off. But remember for horses, they're a bit like people. Like I'm right-handed. And some horses are right-handed, some horses are left-handed. So there is some sort of belief that the way that they're shaped in the womb, obviously, they're sort of one side is contracted and one side is stretched. And so a bit like us as being right-handed or left-handed, horses are very rarely we have them ambidextrous. There's very rarely have people that are ambidextrous. So there will be strengths and weaknesses on both sides. And we have to recognise that as trainers. And we have to make sure that we work equally on both reins and that we do enough suppling on both reins. But sometimes the stiffer rein, funny enough, the left side for him is stiffer, but often you'll find the lateral work, because they're a bit stiffer and a bit straighter, you often will get a mark higher, funny enough, with the lateral work on that side, because you can present it so much straighter. Whereas on the right side, which is often the horse's slightly softer, bendier side, for a rider can feel nicer to ride, but when it comes to presenting the shoulder ins and the half passes, you've got sort of slightly too much neck bend, and then the horse is loading its outside shoulder, and then it's not so easy to present those movements. So it's funny, you know, like people, horses the same. One side is usually stronger than the other, and they will compensate, and it's up to us to make them as supple as we can on both sides to help them with that.
And now we've just got 5 minutes left. Do you reckon that would be enough? I know it flies by. It flies by. Do you have enough time to show us how we should ride a brilliant corner?
I certainly do. Now, I don't know if any of you watch Olivia what's her name? Olivia Towers. You know,
we do.
Yeah. She's a lovely girl, and she does a lot on social media. And something that I noticed her do recently is in all her videos, she's got these poles set up in the corner to help her ride really good corners. Now, Amy was brilliant, because I said to Amy, what do you think we should talk about on the live today? And she said, oh, do you know, my corners are really rubbish, and so I'd really like you to talk about corners. So we must do that before we run out of time. So in order to ride a good corner, you firstly need to make sure that your school is beautifully leveled. And I have to say, that leaves a little bit to be desired at the moment. We need to harrow it, but we'll live with what we've got at the moment. And what we'll do is we will grab some poles just to help. Now, these happen to be the heaviest poles known to man, but I will try and pick them up. Oh my God. Sorry, I should have set this up beforehand, but of course I've been rushing around like mad this morning trying to get everything. I've got a million ones going.
We love just being live with you. You're keeping it real, don't you?
I am keeping it real. I'm so sorry that I'm not at all organised. I've also got all this rubbish in the corner, which doesn't help us ride good corners. So sorry, bear with me a second. Bear with me. And here's a lovely horse for you to look at while I grab the other pole. See, it's all live. It's all happening.
I love it.
Right. We're nearly there. These are honestly the heaviest poles known to man. But this is a really simple exercise that everyone can set up at home.
Love it.
And I have slightly stolen it from Olivia Towers, I have to say. So thank you to her for giving us the idea.
She's right. She's Team Equiboodle. Have you seen her in her Equiboodle gear?
Oh, well, of course. Look, it's the best gear going, isn't it? Let's face it. Right, okay. Now, this just give you the idea.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So, I don't know. Can you see? Right, just walk around that. We've got two poles at right angles, and we're just going to ask the horse to walk around those poles like that. She said even in walk, it's quite tricky. That's it. Yeah, and then we come round again, and I want you to imagine there are poles in each corner there, Amy. You see, what you have to try to do, you have to control the outside of the horse's shoulder with your outside rein. Then you have to make him supple on your right leg. But what you want to not feel is when you put your right leg on, that he just throws his body weight over to the left shoulder. So your outside rein controls that.
Yeah.
Very nice. And that's it. And almost like a leg yield feel there. Tuck the inside hind leg underneath. I haven't given you much room, have I? You all right? Right, I've made it pretty tough because I haven't given her much room. Let's do it in trot. I was under pressure of it, doing it all too quickly.
And if you're at home, Sarah, would you suggest putting poles in each corner like this? Or just one corner?
I would. Yeah, and I wouldn't make them quite as tricky as I've made them, because I think I've put them too close into the poor Amy. You know, luckily she's on an advanced horse. Most people wouldn't cope quite as well as Amy's coping there with that corner. So do pull it out a little bit from the edge. And then what you can do is you get more and more confident. You can start putting it closer and closer into the edge, so that you really do make it like almost like a right angled turn, but make it much softer than that if you've got a horse that struggles. Right, okay, do it once more, and then off the back of the corner I want you to use the good corner to ride it into a good shoulder in positioning. Okay, so you set up the corner, you put the inside hind leg towards the wall, and then you position along into shoulder in. Good girl.
Love it.
And then you turn across, and just the reason that the shoulder in worked well there is just how she used the corner in order to help the horse set up the exercise. So again, we just do the same thing. We're going to use the corner, half halt, put the inside hind leg underneath, position the front end over. Bless him, he lost his balance a little bit there. But there you go, that's the way. And then the rhythm stays the same, slight crossing of the jaw there. We probably need to make him a little bit more through in the jaw. Do a little circle there, Amy. A little straighter to the outside rein. Well ridden, that's the way. Good girl. That's it. And we try once more. I know we're probably running out of time, aren't we, Vic? Sorry about that. I just chat so much, I get carried away.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant to see.
And
then, would you do this in canter as well, or just walk and trot?
Yeah, let's do it in canter, Amy. She's thinking, oh my God, it's so close to the edge. But he's got a lovely canter and it's balanced enough. So just like bear in mind, it probably is easier for him in canter than it is in trot, to be fair. Yeah, get him to sit and turn. Yeah, very good. Super easy. Really nice. Good girl. Super easy. Good. All right, just walk again, darling. And we'll just make sure that we stretch him and walk him off, get rid of all that lactic acid, make much of him. Thank you so much, Amy, as ever, being superstar.
Yeah, thank you, babe. Well, and you, Sarah. That was 2 really super useful exercises for people for homeschooling. I loved it, and I know other people will too. Alice has put that she loves your approach to training this lovely horse, and that's what we all love about you. We do. If anybody's got anything that they would like Sarah to cover, obviously just ping it over and I'll let Sarah know. But I love the fact that you're giving us such useful advice that we can incorporate into our home training, lovely. And we're just so blessed to see lovely Amy doing it on her beautiful horse as well.
Yeah,
so thank you so much. I've got to go because my customers have just started arriving. But you have a gorgeous rest of your day. Stay dry. I think that's all I can say to anybody today. And if anybody's got any questions, you can find Sarah at Sarah Stewart Equine. Hi, Amy, and Amy Searle Dressage. That's our 2 lovely ladies. Thank you so much, lovely, and I'll see you later with your gloves.
Oh yeah. Woo. Bye, bye,
bye, darling.
Bye.